Be sure to check your logic privileges before posting on the forum. You say something dumb like that. Oh, hello. Thought I'd try something a little different. Doing a video, what I think of World of Warplanes 2.0. A mouthful to say. I'll definitely be editing this a little bit. I hope. So sorry if it looks a little choppy. Anyways, a lot of things have been said, will be said, have been said about the changes made to the game. It's definitely been building up to it for years. Unfortunately, only one of us saw this coming, and he isn't playing the game anymore, as far as I know. Which is kind of sad. Just my general thoughts, praises, criticisms, just in the hangar here. This used to be the premium hangar. We had an old blocked-in hangar. If you had a standard account, so you have a standard account here. This was the old premium hangar with the fabled B-17 there in the back. The major upgrade brought about by 2.0 was the addition of Bomber class to the game. They do add an extra dimension to the gameplay. The reason given by the devs is that the addition of bombers to the game would not fit into the game mode that we had at the time. So they had designed an entirely new game mode for us to use the bombers in, which was a good thing. The game needed another game mode. Standard battles was getting stale. People were getting bored of the predictability of bots and the low numbers of humans in battles. So the game needed a reboot. It needed to be advertised more. It needed to bring in new players to solve population problems. And we were given the short notice by, I think it was a leak of something in the works. And we were all hopeful for, hey, new game mode, I wonder how it's going to go. And then they opened a closed testing for it. And you'd think that the maximum number of people allowed to be in the testing, but they weren't. Things were still under the hoods. A few leaked videos came out, and they caused a little bit of worry just because of how different it looked. Now, the second round of testing went by, and fewer people were chosen. NA was excluded entirely, for what I know, from what people were saying. Then we were given the open tests, of which on the NA server, I only saw 30 people on at the most, which was mind-boggling to me. I played it, Tier 1, absolutely dominated. More so than usual because of the addition of respawns and more aerial targets in battle. At first, I really disliked it. I had a lot of complaints about it, which I still hold true. They still mostly haven't been fixed yet, which I'll go into a little bit later. But then after playing a few matches, hey, kind of get used to it. Being back to, this is going to be the only mode, which caused me to hate it again. Before 2.0 came out, I was playing around 100 battles a month. It's been 3 to 4 months now since 2.0 came out, and I only have 100 battles. So my playing time dropped drastically from a game I used to play a lot, considering the amount of free time I have. I've been playing this game for 4 years. Sounds like a long time, considering the amount of changes that went on. So I'm back to kind of liking it, but not in its vanilla form. I have to use my own mods, other people's mods, to kind of make it for the things that I find lacking in the game right now. And then they only fix some of the problems. Let's just hop into a training room here, show some things. New objectives. When it first came out, Conquest mode was overcomplicated. There's too much, a few too many rules, I think. New players right now don't have a tutorial in the game to learn from. They have to have a trial by fire.
Show me what you can do, pilot.
Some of the obvious things. 2.0 allegedly made the game look better. I've had to go into windowed mode, lowered my resolution, and I still barely get the... I got a 10 FPS drop, basically. Some of the other obvious things, camera changed. Light physics, a little less obviously, but have changed quite drastically, actually. UI changed. And just trying to think of some of the things we've actually gained as far as it goes. Really not much. There's only one zoom angle. Only two zooms, sniper and normal view. Or you could zoom out, but you can't zoom in to see your plane anymore. It's stuck in this outside mode, but if you go into joystick control here, you have the zoom, which boggles my mind. I don't understand how it works. A couple of other things that changed. CSP, client-side prediction, which effectively allowed low ping users to fire at planes in the past, now is enabled for everyone, and turning it off causes major desync. Other things that changed, the lead indicator was removed, which isn't a bad thing in and of itself, but to compensate, muzzle velocities were exaggerated, meaning that it's easier to hit, and auto-aim was exaggerated, which I consider things to be quite detrimental to the game itself. Maneuverability was... the way it works was changed. As you can see on the left here, this is my indicated airspeed, and you can see the yellow lines and the white lines. And what that basically tells you is that in the white, you will have your best turn time. So whatever it is for the ME410, like 15 seconds or whatever, in the white zone, no matter how fast you're going, you will turn it in 15 seconds max. If you go below it or you go above it, the time increases. What that means is that, especially in more maneuverable planes, your best turn is right there, right before the white touches the yellow, because your turn radius is at its smallest, and your turn time is at its smallest. So if you know that and someone else doesn't know that, it provides a big advantage in your turn riding skills. That's it. The other thing is that boom and zoom has been greatly diminished in this version of the game. Altitude limits, altitude bands, the yellow here and the red, were made lower. This is especially detrimental to multi-roles, which had theirs absolutely nerfed. P-47N, high altitude, long range, fast fighter, U.S. Air Force, has an optimum altitude of about 1,500 meters, something ridiculously low like that. That's barely even 4,000 feet. That's That's ridiculous. If you go above that airspeed, you're going below your max speed. And yes, Boom and Zoom needed to be nerfed. In 1.x, the predominant way to win was to just get in a heavy fighter and stall at the bots. There wasn't enough, good players in turn and burn craft to actually make a difference in the battle. But now the game is overly turn and burn centric. The best way right now to affect the outcome of the match is to hop into a turn and burn fighter and just shoot dumplings. The ME410 at this point is the only plane that I actually feel like I'm flying in right now, because that's how ridiculously over-exaggerated the maneuverability is in this game. And this leads to several fundamental problems. Kills are too easy to acquire now. People have been getting 30, 20, kills in a match. And before it was 15-player matches, now the max is 12. That's because of extra bots being on the objectives. So there's probably in excess of 30 planes on the map at a single time. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, maneuverability. It's late, guys. I'm sorry. It's 11 o'clock. I've got school tomorrow. I'm trying to think and fly at the same time. So yeah, you can play the objective, but just flying around and shooting stuff is usually enough to boost your score enough to actually win the match. But then again, maybe not, because how the game goes is almost entirely determined by your bots. Win rate doesn't mean anything. Used to be able to tell you, oh, this player is kind of good because he wins pretty often. It could be skewed by several things. Win rate is not the end-all, be-all of pilot performance. I don't care about it anymore. Okay, I think I remembered something. So I was saying, kills are too easy to acquire. My favorite iteration of the game was 1.7. This one basically had the effects of the 1.5 update, which nerfed cannons. Made it much harder to get kills at far range anyway.
You are the final hope. Hang in there. Almost all enemy aircraft.
Yeah, you're allowed to control. You're allowed to control tailwinders now. Oh, that frame drop.
Victory is ours. We're waiting for your return.
Did you see that? I made 99,000 meters there. Oh, kilometers an hour anymore. Anyway, so what I was saying about kills. Aerial kills are the life and blood of airplane games. There's no denying it. Bombing ground targets, attacking ground targets is important from a strategic sense, but hey, we're all here to be fighter pilots. And yes, so 1.7 cannons were nerfed. It was hard to get kills at long range with cannons. You had to be real close in, and you had to have good aim in order to get a quick kill. Critical hits were non-existent, basically. They were very rare, and they were fixable with consumables, for the most part, at least the engine ones were. You could get your fuel tank damaged, which would increase chance of fire. All that good stuff. And what it allowed was for a prolonged dogfight to occur. You had to work to get your kills. You had to coordinate with your 3-man team to get kills. If you were in a bad position, you'd get annihilated instantly, but if you were in a good position, even with most of your hit points gone, you could survive and you could turn the battle. In 2.0, it doesn't matter. Respawns allow you to get shot down over and over again. It allows planes that you just worked really hard to kill, allows them to come back and kill you again, which encourages headhunting. More so than if the matchmaker put you in 2 separate matches. There's just a lot of stuff. This is essentially a new game. Quite different from the old. My beloved Focke-Wulf 190s over here have been nerfed to smithereens, sort of. Kind of. Let me show you something cool. I think this is a good one to put it in. There was altitude compression. This effectively made boom and zoom overpowered.
You are entering the combat zone.
Because
Get ready for battle. Good luck.
I'm not sure, but I believe the conversion was for every 1 meter in game space, up or down, was 3 meters in real life. So your speed is calculated in real life, but your altitude is in game altitude.
Off we go.
So if you climbed straight up, and if you climb straight up, you're losing 3 times as much energy climbing, or 3 times as less altitude. And if you're diving, you're gaining 3 times as much energy and losing that much less altitude. Let's go into a dive here. But now they've added something extra, and that is horizontal compression. So what this effectively means is that if you try to get away, you have to be going faster to get out of gun range faster. I saw something in the coding indicating that it might be 4 to 1, maybe. And I'm also making 851 kilometers an hour in a prop plane level flight. Congratulations. Yay. This is kind of rambling. Basically, if someone's on your tail and you try to run away, before 100 kilometers an hour, 200 kilometers an hour would be enough to get you out of gun range quickly enough. Now you need to be going 300 kilometers an hour, 400 kilometers an hour difference in order to get away in a reasonable amount of time. This severely hampered boom and zoom quite a bit, as well as the inflation of climb rates. You see where I'm getting with this? Everything has been inflated. I mean, just look at this. I mean, it just keeps going. Almost like I'm in a jet plane or something. Basically, the game was simplified to a greater extent. There's no difference between Tier 1 gameplay and Tier 10 gameplay. That's how severe it is. I honestly don't see the point in flying high tiers anymore. High tiers are a ghost now. 2.0 was supposed to bring in the players. It didn't. No, that's not true. It did bring in new players, but all the old ones left. So you had a net gain of 0. I'm not going to say anything about what I think about the development team, about the changes that they need to make. This is just basically a complaining video, so you guys can understand, hopefully, why most of the old guard left. This wasn't We didn't ask for a total revamp. We just wanted a new game mode. Also, can we please get rid of yaw turns, please? Please? I'm not driving a car, I'm flying a plane. By the way, cockpit view mod is coming along great, sort of. And there's only one thing hampering it, and that's the fact that the camera does this little silly zooming in and out effect when you try to boost or slow down. It's not really, it's a little noticeable. Yeah. Okay, guys. I hope this answers a few things. It's gonna be fun to edit. I do need to get to bed right now. Good night. So long, guys. Oh, real quick. I am thinking of making a new video series to help me with my commentating, and tell me what you think in the forum or in the comments. I want to make a video where I pick the top 10 best posts on the forum over the week, and I read them aloud and record them on video. How about that? Okay. Bye. Clear skies.